Well, hi everybody and welcome back to the channel. As you can see here, this is a video about not really a proper kit review of the Alpha model Ferrari 296 GT3. They write here the Le Mans Championship Spa-Francorchamps motor 2024-2025. The point is that the car is missing some little air intakes, mostly here and there, for the configuration of the car, because it's still not an Evo version. It should be a GT3 Evo. The Evo cars are the vehicles developed after the pandemic, and they had an evolution from the GT Championship, which started in 2017, if I'm not wrong, and had a brutal stop in 2020, and they restarted in 2022. All the cars have been modified, in some points more, in some points less, as for example, if you remember my production of the Honda NSX, Acura NSX GT3, which I made both the version in 2017 edition and the version of 2022 edition. The car was hugely different in the front lip, in the wings, and all the aerodynamics became different, mostly at the rear part. All the rear extraction or the rear vents became much more similar to an Audi. Despite the Ferrari 296 GT3 didn't have the same identical evolution, because basically she was the last one arriving on the grid, of this evolution car, because they started the championship in the GT championship with the previous 488 GTE or GT3 car. That was still the evolution of the Ferrari 488. So it was the previous generation of the car, and this 296 arrived that it was little I don't know how to say, really like a starting point for the evolution of the proper racer that it is today, proper winning racer. Today is completely one of the strongest car, around. In proper hands, it's really a blast, is really a weapon, but in the beginning of the series they didn't have a kind of first version for 2020, because they were closing the experience with the 488 and starting with the 296. So the first 296 were absolutely uncompetitive, like always happens with GT cars. Many cars, like for example, if you take the Lamborghini Huracan, they had a huge modification like the Honda NSX, because they were some of the first one that were racing in the championship. The same with the Mercedes. If you take the Mercedes AMG, became very, very different in the front and in the rear air. So it's basically the two tips of the car were modified. Before the arrival on the market of this Alpha model kit, which is in my opinion fantastic, I had to wait a painful 7 months, for this kit. I ordered this model from George in Greek, and I suggest everybody that want to buy this type of models in Europe to rely on George. George is an incredibly skilled modeler, in my opinion, and I told him one of the best one that we can see around. Incredibly skilled in making super detailing, making extremely nice finishing, very, very skilled modeler. And he also import for Greek this item from Alpha Model. You can also do it by yourself, but for example, if you live in a country like I do, which is Sweden, that have a domain that is a little aggressive on these items coming from abroad, you risk to pay a kidney in the importation taxes coming from China. Now they increase it even more, so it will be a little more pricey to have this experience. To avoid this stuff, this is a little tip, and you are based in Europe, in the ordinary Europe, continental Europe, you can buy this item from George, because he can sell you from Europe to Europe, so you don't have any importation tax, you don't have any issues, and mostly you can relate to an incredibly skilled modeler. So my tips is always to go through him. I am not an importer of Alpha model. For them I just build up sometimes their samples and model, like this Cayman 718 GT4 RS, which I'm modifying to Jägermeister race car, which will be an object of another video that I will do in the future. And before the arrival of this model, we just had another company, even from China, that was PZI, another excellent company. They do incredibly nice stuff, and the main difference, which you can spot the differences between the two kits of Alpha model and the PZI, is that PZI decided to have closed doors, while Alpha model wanted to do a little extra detail, giving the opportunity with all the hinge system and so on to leave the door openable of this car. They are incredibly precise and skilled in add this type of details. So when you plan for an opening door, you have to be quite precise. It is anyway a model in resin, so always consider that the material have its own issues, is not so easy to work with. Nearly always, like you can see here, I engrave even much more the panel lines, you know, because usually they are too light. So if you go for an ordinary glossing of the model, or for a painting, or for a huge decaling like this car always have been this type of racers, all the details will disappear. So it's important to engrave much more this type of details. This one engraves indeed the model which I had just before the arrival of this. That was the model coming from the 3D file, which you can find in cults3d or in eBay, printed by a very good friend, which I gave the file to make some copies, you know, and I had 3 of them. But there is a little bit issues with this model from the beginning, you know, when you don't have anything real referred on the same car, you cannot spot the difference. But if you just see these images from my telephone, you can see with your eyes that is already something off, you know, between the two models, which is absolutely the dimensions. What happens if you just Google for dimensions of the Ferrari 296 GT3, and it doesn't matter if you search for an Evo car or not Evo car, because basically the dimension of the wheelbase, remember the wheelbase is the center of the front wheel and the center of the rear wheel. That is the wheelbase of the car. Nearly never changes in this model, so it's always the same. It can change the width, it can change the dimensions of the wheel, the dimensions of the wings. That is part that are absolutely different from car to car, but the wheelbase is constantly the same. So that is what I named like a fixed measure, you know. And on the datas of Ferrari, which is this little paper that I downloaded, you discover that the dimensions of the wheelbase is 2660 millimeters, which reduced in 124 became 110.8, nearly 111 millimeters, you know. With ordinary rulers, here I don't have a scaled millimetrical ruler, here I don't have the instrument, but you see basically with your eyes the model of Alpha model have perfect wheelbase, so the model is absolutely the same, which in this other one, in the cults3d file printed, is also similar, because instead of 110 you have 108, so it's just barely 2, nearly 3 millimeter of difference. That is absolutely nothing, so it's just something that you can still work with. The real huge difference between these two models, it is when you look about the width of the model. The width of these cars is usually written. All these data that I wrote here is not becoming a fruit of my fantasy. These are all data that you can download from the official Ferrari website. The length of the car is 2050 millimeter, which reduced in 124 scale became 85.41, slightly 85.5 to have an idea on the ruler. The point is that this car is absolutely correct. This one is 82, so there is a different 3 millimeter. Is a range of, I guess, something between the 20-25% in width. If you see the width of the models, it's brutally different. Seems to different cars. And in GT car, the overall look and the aggressive look and the badass appeal that they have is absolutely too important. Is even more evident on the rear. I mean, on the front wheel, you can see, just looking at the front fence, look the dimension of the yellow model and look the dimension of the vents on the gray model. Seems completely another car. Look the difference after the front light here and there. Completely different. The legend says, and I don't know how much is true or not, but I think is the way they made it, that this file, which they converted on cults3d, and I think they still sell it, which was honestly the part for all the guys with the 3D printer to have this type of model and work with it, have been taken from the files that you can find for the car folder inside Assetto Corsa Competizione game on Steam. And if you work with this stuff, I'm not a designer of this model, but what I know is basically that the file that you find inside there is basically a kind of sheet that you can apply with texture over the model to race. And in Assetto Corsa Competizione they were not made like laser scan, you know. The only game that features laser scan cars is iRacing, and I don't think they feature in a Ferrari 296 GT3, you know. So the limit is exactly that. Probably who work at this file had the same issues that you can have making the car for the game. The only point is that in a game, together with other cars, which probably are also off in dimensions, you don't notice so much different. But if you do this type of modeling where the appeal, the overall look, and the general appeal of the car have to be taken at once, the difference is absolutely dramatical, you see. There is no way that this car can be compared to this great piece from Alpha Model. So plus more than that, when I took this model, I think as I said, I have 3 of them I can use for test for something. There is always something to do, but I don't think I wanted in the beginning to check if the difference in size was not this huge difference, at least to finish in a different version. That's why I took from Fola friend. Fola is a very good friend, you know, from Slotfabrik. I took this decal to do one of the first Verstappen car, which he used when he was going around with the name of Max Hermann at the Nürburgring, you know. And I think that there is no use for this type of decal on this car. I don't know if Fola designed this over this body shell, because back in time when they Fola from Slotfabrik, they are making stuff for slot racing, you know, but he works so good in scaling, works so good in details, that a lot of his items can be suitable for ordinary static modeling. Have you seen probably on my social media that I took from Fola the conversion to make the Mercedes AMG GT3 Evo from him, and there is other companies making, of course, the same conversion, but for me the stuff that he provides is absolutely great, and it fits quite good on the model. I already made the test, so with the Mia part, because Fola itself, the trick of everything is Fola itself is a great modeler. So when they are like George, great modelers, they can help you. They can have the tip of somebody that knows better than me what to do and how to do the part. So that is impressive, you know. That is absolutely something that really changed the game when they are modeler and when they know what they are going to do and produce and sell. Because, you know, I know many 3D designer mostly that they are just a nerd in computer, very skilled maybe to do their own stuff, the details and so on, but they are not modelers. If you try to give them the nicest Tamiya around, the kit is horrific. So I seen some stuff made by this guy, so claimed in social media, we do this, we do that. The quality of what they do is horrible. You will never see their model made by them. I mean, made by the guy making this type of models, you know, for the most different reason. You know, I remember some 3D cars assembled by a guy that was so proud of his work. Made a Viper, made some Italian vehicles, and the final was horrific. Also, the presentation was absolutely horrible. I mean, don't do it, you ruin a problem. Then thanks God it was stuff that never arrived on the market. When they arrive, they have mostly problems, you know. So I really have a different row for the 3D file. Plus the material that is in this specific printing, the material is excellent, and this was made by Janet's JPG models, and he made an excellent work on this file, but the file itself is weak, you see. So there is anyway not used for this. There is no line, despite this is a 3D printing. There is absolutely, you know, the typical lines that you find in cheap printers. These have no lines at all. So I think that if the Ferrari here is 124 scale, this can be probably 125 scale. Probably that's it. So if not 126 scale, I will make the proper conversion, or you can do the same if you have the file, because I know that many guys watching my videos already have this file. You can download the measure from Ferrari like I did and try to take your own measurements in this stuff. I think it's way over the 125, you know, and it was something that already James Truster, you know, is a guy making reviews. I sent him for free the file in the time that it was still not on cults3d, and he made this test because he's I think in Canada or US, I don't remember where James is from. I think from the US. He already had the sample from PZI company, and when he get the model and he printed that in one night, he was the first one telling me, Paolo, hold on, because the model is dramatically smaller and slimmer than what it should be compared to a real original correct, properly done Ferrari 296 in the proper scale. So hold on, because otherwise I wanted simply to build up, you know, like it is. Of course, the original file don't have any decent interior. The roll cage is a joke, the dashboard is a joke, no engine, so it's just for the shape of the body shell, really meant, probably meant just for slot lacing. Instead here you have full interior entire in the cockpit, the engine bay, the opening door. So this is a complete full kit. You know, if you want to go for a cheaper version of the 296, you just have to wait, I think, a couple of months more, because I think before the end of the year or before September will arrive the Burago conversion of this toy car. So at least all the details in a Burago are crap, but at least the body shell is absolutely usually well done, as you can see from my diecast review series here on my channel. So that's it. I think I have no use for this model, despite I made 3 of them. You know, sometimes it happens that you trash money on such stuff, but it was an experience. You know, I finally get this one. As I said, my tip is believe in George, buy the model from him if you are in Europe. Then probably there is nowadays some US distributors, and there is surely the way to still find the model around, because they are slowing down. I don't know for which reason. I have a contact guy from Alpha Model that is always extremely kind. He's so kind that they look like an IE, because he's too kindly to me, honestly. And he tried to explain that they had a little problem of overproductions, items, too many items in the same line, so they could not be on time. Usually they are very, very present in time with this type of subjects, you know, and they say for the future that they are also planning for the BMW Touring, which I'm producing right now in resin. If you didn't book your copy of the BMW M3 racing at the Nürburgring, still drop me a mail. I think they are all booked, but as usual, and I say this here, you know me, when I make the booking of my model, I'm quite serious and I take the booking, but I don't ask money. It means that when the model is ready, as I write nearly to everybody, and when the model is ready, I try to contact the person that asked me for the booked item, but if I don't get an answer or a payment within 24 hours, the model is free for me, so I will not consider that booking valid any longer. So despite I made quite a bit of BMW right now, I think there is for everybody, but my point is this: I don't ask money, but if you don't answer me, I don't consider your presentation valid at all. So that's why, I mean, I have more than 100 kits already booked, so, and the production is much, much less than 100 kits right now. So cross the finger, and I also think that also Alpha Model probably in the future can do that type of BMW, of course, like a completely different items. I just produced the body shell that must be fitted on the Nuno Platz model. They probably will go for an entire model kit, and it's up to you if you want to wait for that model, because with the time they had, this was a model that was announced more than 1 year ago, so more than 1 year ordered and paid 7 months ago, so at the time became a little, in my opinion, a little too bit far away for a decent bike. That's why many modelers switched from Alpha Model and buy the PZI, because they made anyway an excellent model with a little different solutions. They didn't have the opening door, which in my opinion it is nearly better, because you lose a little the shape on this model unless you plan to do a big diorama with wheels down, but I don't know. For now, of course, this will go on my shelf together with the Ferrari 488 GTE, and stay there until maybe I get a sample to build up, because they are, my opinion, quite rare items which I want to collect and keep for my personal collection. About this one, I have no idea. I will study something, maybe fantasy car. We will see when, you know, there is a lot of stuff that you can plan for this type of toys, but I suspect the fact of being so off in scale, so off in dimension, look, the bulge at the rear wheel arch, so it's quite different, exactly in critical parts, will take me down and completely made me lost the volunteer to build it up. That's it, guys. Thanks for watching. As you can see right now on my channel, I don't have a constantly scheduled weekly publication of videos, because right now I have a puppy that is like a kid. I have it's summer, so I don't do this video to monetize and to make money on YouTube. You know, despite if I have many followers, it's not something that I take money for. So just follow my channel. When there is something new, come here time by time and look if there is something new, or look the more than 2000 videos that I already made on my channel. That's it, guys. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.